First of all, I want to say welcome to the Union County School District. My name is Wendy Carter. I'm the superintendent, and we're so proud that you took time out of your night to come and learn some information about this bond resolution. What we're going to do tonight is me and Mr. Wright are going to do a presentation, and then we're going to open the floor up for any questions and answers that you may have, and hopefully give you the information that you need to make a good decision. Before we get started, we do have some special guests here that I want to recognize, and there's our principals and our former superintendent and a board member here. So, Mr. Dell and Mr. Mike Brown, our two of our board members that are here tonight, we appreciate them being here. And then our former superintendent, Mr. Russell Taft, is here. And then our principals, Mr. Corey Trout, West Union principal, Mr. Robin Denton, Engelmont principal, Mr. Justin Hollis, Myrtle principal, and Mr. Lee Bruce, East Union principal. So thank y'all for being here tonight. So we will get started. All right, some of you may want to know, what is a bond? A bond is just for school districts to borrow money for capital assets, for capital projects. Just like homeowners borrow money for a mortgage for their home, school districts can borrow money to do construction for the schools. Why do we need one? The Union County School District is at maximum capacity. Just since last year, the end of last year, we're up 115 students. And this is my 10th year up here in this office, and I will tell you, over the past 10 years, I have seen our schools do the very best that they can do with what they've got. We've had classes meeting on stages. We've had classrooms where we've built walls to make 2 classrooms. We have done everything that we can do to provide more space and more classroom space for our schools. And it has been close to 50 years since the district passed a school bond. And over those 50 years, I feel like we've been good stewards of our resources and our money. We've not asked for the taxpayers to get any money during those 50 years. But we just feel like this is the time we've got to do something because our schools are absolutely overcrowded right now. So what will the bond be used for? It will be used for additional classrooms, restrooms, which will enhance our safety. Also, we'll pave a couple of parking lots and some sports lighting. So how was the need identified? A couple of years ago, Mr. Taylor wanted to do a 5-year strategic plan, and I have some of our plans up here if you'd like one. But what we did is we focused on 5 areas, which were facilities, safety, instruction, staff, and communications. And we got administrators, teachers, and community folks to come in, and we formed committees for each one of these areas. And so these committees did some research, and they came up with the projects, or had input on the projects that each school is getting. So this is what we've had to put at East Union this summer, and it broke my heart to have to put this at East Union because it looks absolutely horrible. But like I said, we had no choice. We had to have some more classrooms out there. So this mobile unit will provide 2 classrooms for East Union, but it looks horrible. And we all know that business and industries move into our county because of our school systems. And if we start putting stuff like this on our properties at our schools, people are going to stop moving into Union County. They're going to go somewhere where the schools look better, and they don't want to send their students to a school to have to go in one of these mobile units. It's not good. So our main buildings were built in 1961, and over the years, like I said, we have grown. These buildings have served us well. But now it's time to upgrade and provide the educational environment that our students deserve. I just talked about industries and businesses moving in. And it's our belief that our facilities should match how we rank. And right now in the state of Mississippi, we are 4th in the state of Mississippi as far as ranking. And our attendance centers are number 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that says a lot about our school district and what our students and what our teachers are doing. We do feel like this year that our ranking is going to be even higher, and so we want to continue to provide for our students, what they need. So our project, Mr. Wright's going to come up here and he's going to go over our projects.
All right, good evening. I'll very quickly go through the projects at each school. I think you'll see some common things at each school that we're going to do classrooms and restrooms, at each school some safety upgrades to make our campuses safer. The goal at each campus is to have one point of entry so that during the school day, visitors have to go through our office It's the only way into the building, and then we can direct them once they're into our building. Then you'll also see some sports lighting at each school. So we'll start with East Union. At East Union, the bond will provide 10 classrooms with egress, restrooms along with those classrooms, hallways the size to meet egress requirements, an added teacher restroom area. We would add, I think, 2 gates at East Union, I believe is what we would do to limit visitors to that one point of entry during the school day. For ball games, night activities, those gates would be open. We'd be able to use the back of the campuses for that. And then in the building process, it would be necessary to move the playground. We would move the playground off of the highway back down on, I think, on the south end of the building. And they would also provide for softball and baseball lighting at East Union. Kind of a layout of what those 10 classrooms and restrooms would look like. At Ingomar, it would be a multi-purpose building that would be built. It would help to meet our PE requirements in grades K through 12. We would also have 4 classrooms. I'm going to go to the next slide so you can see kind of what the classrooms would be. I'm going to stand close to me. It'd be 4 classrooms. It would have PE 4, and then on the other side, you would have restrooms that would serve the multi-purpose building, but would also serve the basketball gym. So that at basketball games, you'd have more access to restrooms, provide another little foyer area for that, and also we provide a concessions area. There would be 4 classrooms. Wouldn't lose any classrooms. You kind of notice it's offset from the gym. Think, why are we not putting it up to where it was flush with the edge of the gym? If we did that, we would lose some existing classrooms that are there. And so this plan allows us to keep those classrooms that are already there while adding those 4. Another thing that this would provide for is our band is currently meeting in a house. We literally have students playing instruments kind of hanging out of a bathroom in a house. And that this would allow for us to use the existing smaller multi-purpose building to be repurposed as a band hall to help keep our band growing in the county.
We have put over the school board's put over $1 million in band, so we definitely want to keep that program going. And then also, I just want to chime in, Mr. Wright, the other 3 schools received a multi-purpose building years ago, but Ingomar did not because then it was a cafeteria. So instead of getting the PE building like the other 3 schools have, they got a new cafeteria or redid a cafeteria expansion. And so that's why they don't have a multi-purpose building and the other schools do.
Bring this to Myrtle. As far as security goes, Myrtle probably has the most open campus in our district. All 3 of the other schools, the back of the campus is closed, it's landlocked. At Myrtle, you have roads and county roads going all around the campus. Gates back there, so this is the most open of our campuses. So the plan with the bond for Myrtle would be to join 3 other buildings, provide a new front to the school off of Old 78 there, and that would allow us to control access to the facility at that one point of entry, so everybody would come through the front. It also increases the number of restrooms adjacent to the cafeteria, as you can see at the very top. Adds 3 new classrooms with egress, changes the look of the front of the school, and I think we're going to add 2 gates to limit visitors to one point of entry during the school day there. Another thing that I like about the Myrtle plan is you'll see around the edge of the classrooms and the restrooms, there's a hallway that allows students to go from one building over to these other buildings without having to go outside, which is another safety aspect to that. And then finally at West Union, these are classrooms. This plan converts the existing auditorium space, which isn't being used because the school's outgrown it, and 4 new classrooms with egress. There will also be restrooms in that same area. If you're familiar with West Union, and I'm more familiar with West Union, having been there, on the east end of our building, there are no restrooms for the tech building and the high school building, so folks have to come out of one building all the way up the hallway next to the cafeteria to go to the restrooms. The restrooms that we use for ball game nights. The restrooms will help to cover those additional students as well as those adjacent buildings. We would add 3 gates because of the county road there on the east end. We would add 3 gates to West Union to have that one point of entry. And then another great feature to West Union's part of this is paved front parking areas. Having that one point of entry would make it necessary to have more parking in front of the school. So there would be a parking area on each side of the circle, paved parking area. And then, sorry, that was the next slide, but there would be sports lighting at every school that would be added. There's a need for this. One, all of our sports lighting, at least at most of the fields, it's low. I know this at West Union this past year, we had one light hit twice and shattered glass over spectators. Also, we've driven around, we looked at poles, a lot of them have woodpeckers living in them, which weakens the pole. And so really run into some safety issues with some of our lighting on our golf fields.
Okay, the timeline. So if the bond passes, bids would go out in March of 2024, and in construction, we would expect it to begin in May of 2024. So the question most of you have is, how will this affect our taxes? And let me say up front that this was not an easy decision for the school board and for Mr. Taylor and myself. You know, we put lots of prayer and lots of thought into this before we decided to do this bond. But we just felt like it was something that we had to do, but it was not a decision that was easily made. I want you to know that. I don't know if you got on Facebook, you probably noticed this graphic that we put out, but it just shows you on an $18 million bond, if you have a $50,000 house, then your taxes would increase 63 cents. If you have a $100,000 house, then your taxes would increase, what did I say, cents? Then your taxes.
That's good.
Everybody.
Really good.
And then the vehicles, automobiles, if you have a $20,000 automobile, it would increase by $76. But there is a place that you can go and you can check to see how much your taxes would increase. And I apologize, I did not introduce Ms. Tammy Dunham. She is our tax assessor, and Ms. Karen McMillan is with her, who works with her. And so I know if you have questions about your taxes, they would be happy to help you with that. But there is a program called deltacomputersystems.com, and if you go to our website or our website or Facebook page, that information is right down here at the bottom. It tells you where you can go and where to look to find the value of your house, and that'll help you figure out, how much your taxes would increase.
You can't see those figures from back here in the map.
I've got a handout, I can give it to you at the top.
Right.
All right, so when will my taxes increase? Well, for 2023, you will not see anything from the bond on your taxes. You would see that in December of 2024 is when you would see the bond increase on your taxes. So both of them are not going to come due at one time. It'll be, the reappraisal will be on the 23 bill, and then the bond will be on the 24 bill. So where and when will the election be held? All citizens residing in the Union County School District will have the opportunity to vote to approve or not approve this bond from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Tuesday, September the 19th at all local voting precincts. For it to be approved, 60% of those voting must be in favor. And absentee voting is currently available at the Circuit Clerk's office in the courthouse, and it's open also on Saturday, September the 19th and 16th from 8 o'clock until noon, if you know anybody that needs to go to absentee voting. So some of you had the question, why a special election and who pays for it? Well, the Union County School District and Board chose a special election in September instead of waiting for the primary in November so that the projects of construction could go ahead and begin 2 months earlier, because construction costs they're going up daily. So the quicker we can get it going, the more money we would save. And then also, this is the first bond issue in the county since 1976. And so it was important to have a special election day to allow the district to educate all voters about the projects and for the election to focus strictly on the bond issue. And the cost of the special election is up to the school district to pay for it. So 62 out of 140 48 current school districts have bonds issued for debt services needed. Throw that out there. And then the last slide that I have, this right here, this is the future of the Union County School District. And, we want to be able to provide an opportunity for children like this to attend our great schools and earn an education like many of us in here did. And we just, want to do whatever we can do because it is for the children. And that's why we're here today, is to do what we have to do for the children, current children and future children like this one right here. There's just something about our schools. I don't know if all of you attended our schools, but our schools are just very special. They are the centers of our community. And our schools are like Mr. Taylor used to reference, the old sitcom Cheers. When you walk down our hallways, everybody knows your name. And like I said, it's just something special about that. And we want to keep Union County schools going and continue to help our students excel for many, many generations to come. So we hope tonight that we gave you some information that you didn't know, and we're going to open the floor up for any questions that you may have. And I've got Ms. Lisa Strong, who is our business manager here. She's done a lot of research, and she's got a lot of answers as far as taxes and money. So Mr. Taylor's here. He may chime in on some questions if I can't answer them. But we're just going to open up the floor now and let you ask any questions that you may have.
What does it cost? I'm hearing on the street 20,000 up to 60,000. So exactly what does a special election cost? Just
About 15,000.
15. Okay, that's very nice.
Was all the new homes that's been built in Union County lately, was it taken into consideration with all those figures? You think how many new homes been built in this county? Was that taken into consideration with those figures?
Yes, sir.
And the reappraisal. And what do you think the tax revenue will be over the next 5 years?
That's a question I would have to leave up to our
They have
tax
all those
assessor. I can't
graphics
answer
posted on
that.
Facebook, on their Facebook.
Off your taxes now, off your revenue that you would get for people building houses and paying those land taxes.
There's no way to estimate that. We can give even a close number for that. Unless you can think of any terms that are.
Since your property value is increasing.
And I do want to say, our property values are increasing, and I think a lot of that is due to our schools, because we do have great schools, and because people are moving in to attend our schools. So I did want to bring that up. I think that is one reason that our property values are increasing, because Union County is a great place to be.
So how many personal property owners, what's that number that will be paying today?
Personal property as in businesses or as in real?
Us. How many in the county have homes or land that's gonna be paying taxes?
Well, there are 20,000 parcels in Union County.
Okay.
So I haven't actually done the total of what is just in the county school park. But overall, there are 20,000 parcels right now in Union County.
So does that mean in the special election, if only 100 people are informed enough to come out and vote, that 60 of those votes, if they voted yes, then that means it would carry, and the other 1,940 people would have to just go ahead and
That is correct.
They need to get out.
pay? So we
vote.
need to probably discuss. Y'all have presented all the pros for this, but there might, and Union County has done a great job. Y'all have done a great job with taking the monies from local, state, and federal government to run the schools. You've done a great job. Look how much it's progressed since I retired. And I taught here, I've been here I taught 35 and a half years. Tremendous amount of money has been spent on the schools without a taxation. A greater taxation. So what is your fiscal budget every year, and why can you not stay in the budget? And you said, how many new students did we have last year?
We have 115 from the end of the school year to right now. We have 115.
Okay, and that's dispersed over 4 schools.
Right.
In grades K through 12,
Right.
pre-K through 12. So actually, that's less than 30 per school. And you're wanting a tremendous tax increase for people for that amount of students. Here's some cons, okay? Can you not, I was a teacher for 35 years, 22 here in the Union County District. It seems like in each school, there's still enough room for 22 more students.
Well, I want you to walk those halls today.
I walked in halls.
Today. I teach there. We are shoulder to shoulder, elbow to elbow. Like, you can't even wrap your head around what a classroom is like now. So, like, if you want to know, get a visit and go on to school and watch kids meet in a closet that's this big with a dyslexia therapist. I mean, it would, like, really open your eyes. There is we're not whistling Dixie, that there's no need. There is a huge need.
That's like even my kid goes to East, and when they started school, he came home the first day. He's like, there are a lot more kids than what they were last year, and they like half the time he doesn't use the bathroom at school because they don't have enough time to go to the bathroom they got and then get back to class. So sometimes they don't get to use, he don't get to go to the bathroom.
Well, let me finish this then. Classrooms then are needed facility, but we've discussed many other things besides classrooms added on this, okay? Classrooms only is one thing, but a lot of the other are things, can that not be included in your fiscal budget for each year? Now,
I know as far as when she was talking about the band house, I can speak personally on that. My daughter has been in the Ingmar, the Union County band, since she was in 5th grade. She's in 8th now. When it started, the main part of the band, if I'm right, was everywhere. But it's all shifted to Ingmar. And Zoe has come home many a days, and she literally, whenever she said she was in the bathroom practicing, I would tell you, I went there. She was practicing sitting in the bathroom. And so these rooms, and which is just a small part of it, gives them the chance to spread out and become even more, because my daughter is not, she has a lot of mental disorders, and she's not athletic. And she did not have a place at all. But when she got to start band, she found her place and she found her people. And this gives them a chance. Part of this is giving them the band hall. It'll be detrimental to so many people. I mean, she'll thrive. And a lot of kids will thrive.
okay, and I'm gonna say one thing, but I understand these personal things, but if we're going down the personal levels instead of the taxing levels, then there are slews of houses and homes that have older people that do not have the money for tax increases. If we're gonna talk about students, let me talk about the older people in our community.
I don't have the money.
Amen.
I don't have the money for a tax increase.
Right.
But when do you have a choice?
Let me say one thing in answer to your question about the classrooms and Russell Taylor, I'm former superintendent. The classrooms are absolutely needed. I think you may have heard that. But the number one priority in this, even above classrooms, is safety and the one point of entry. And I don't think we can stress that enough. By being able to do this, I don't think we have to tell anybody in this room that doesn't worry about the safety of our kids at school. And, I can personally tell you from being an administrator, that was a huge concern. And when our school was built in 1962, we didn't have the safety concerns that we did now. Even 10 years ago, you didn't run into that as much. And having the one point of entry and what this will allow, along with the classrooms and the safety. So when you talk about other reasons it was built, that is a huge reason for the bond there.
But there are a lot of ways to make a one entry besides, that even you could, any of these men in this room could make a 1.4.
Well, you say that, and certainly there is, but this school district spent a lot on safety already.
Exactly.
And,
yes.
you know, and you can't spend enough. I mean, you know, number one
Yes.
priority is that.
Yes.
But when you talk about creating one point of entry, there are traffic that has to go behind the school. You have to have deliveries for the cafeteria. You have a lot of things that go on. So the safety aspect, this is the safest method that we could find and the most efficient. So I did, you know, I understand what you're saying. I will say that, you know, it's hard for anybody, much less with fixed incomes. I do understand that. But one thing I think with this bond, 20 years from now, it would give the next generation of Union County citizens an opportunity to reinvest at that point. So that being said, I just wanted to mention the safety because I didn't want to get, it's not just classroom.
Let me just say, 20 years from now, all of these schools will be outdated and they will need newer schools.
They'll be really outdated if we don't do anything now.
They'll be outdated before then, and 10 years from now, they'll be needing a new school.
Well, thank you. I think you're kind of making my point. Well, they need it now and they'll be needed 10 years from now and 10 years from now.
Right.
Thank you.
You were talking about the senior citizens and their taxes increasing. In 2018, a law was passed that if an assessed value for a home of someone who qualifies for special homestead, which is 55 and above, that assessed value goes up, their homestead also goes up with that. So it kind of helps balance that out for those that their assessed value went up.
So,
Bond issue
when
will
we-
affect the person
when
65.
Their assessed value is up because of our 23 assessment. Even though we're basing it on 22 taxes, your 23 is up. So your homestead will also increase. for
So
us.
mother was 98. They got a homestead. That has increased ever since then, after they turned 65.
Probably 25 years ago, it went from 6,500 to 75. And so now it's based on a percentage and it still keeps increasing.
I have some examples. I did my parents' taxes, and I've worked for the county for a good many years, and I've been working with the tax office. My parents' value on their house this past time that just got paid was $73,600, which would make their assessed value $7,360. Well, they're over 65, so that $73,600 is under the 75. So they were completely exempt on their taxes. So their value now coming up, based on the Delta computer system and what the assessor's office has come up with, based on the new reassessment, their new value is $89,830. That's an increase of $16,230. Well, their $75,000 exemption amount has gone up the same amount that their increase in value was. And on
So
top,
it's gonna leave it at the 73.
It's going to, instead of being the 73, the homestead credit has gone up enough to cover their increase that their assessment.
But it would be as if it was still 73.
Right, they would still be exempt.
so, and on top of everything else, the county will have to go down to their millage rate. So the tax rate is not going to stay at what we've been paying. By law, the county can only increase their tax collections on existing properties by 10% each year, by law. So outside of new property, they can only go up so much, so that means their millage rate is going to have to come down because the increase in the value is going up so much. It's not going to go down the same rate as the value is going up, but it is going down. So they're still going to be completely exempt with their value. I also did someone else's in my community, their value on their house was more than $75,000 originally. it was $127,000-ish. And, so they had their full $75,000. Their value went up to $155,000. But the same exact amount that their value went up, their exemption went up the same amount. And when you work the math on that and use a decreased rate, their taxes are actually going down.
Well, they shouldn't be paying it. It's below 75.
No, theirs, this other example, theirs was over 75,000 to start with, so they were over that exemption amount. So you take $75,000 off of the value of the property. So that's how it works. So if your house is not worth that much and it's under 75,000, then you don't pay anything. But if the value of your house is over that, you subtract the $75,000 off of that. That's what your exemption amount is. So the rest of it is what's taxable. So their house was originally $127,000, and you back $75,000 off of that. The rest of that's what the assessed value is based on and the tax rates apply to. So in their specific case, the exact amount of increase in their property value is exactly what their exemption increased by. So their net taxable value did not change from last year to this next year. And the rate's going down, so their taxes, overall taxes are going down.
On the assessment, but we're talking about the bond issue. Will the bond issue increase their taxes in?
It will have to.
Sure.
But the bond attorney that has provided the numbers for them has given them basically the worst case scenario, as high as it could get. So there are just lots of factors that have to work together for it to be a smaller amount. But I just think the county's, the supervisors, the county administrator, you had other accountants working on it, your school board, and they're just trying really hard to keep it at a lower amount. But we just can't give you a specific amount of how much it will increase.
That's a very important, like the bonus discussion. That's important to me for senior citizens on fixed income. I mean, if the bond issue is gonna increase taxes when it's presented, I mean, a small amount per year. And look, any increase is an increase, but on the senior citizens, it's gonna be most likely because of their home values, is as minimal as possible to get what our team feels like they need for the short years to come. Everybody's right, saying we're gonna need more. I mean, if you have today, we'll have whole new buildings for everybody, but Union County is gonna continue to grow. If we don't do something today, the next time this comes forward, there's gonna be a lot more money than there is today. And if we don't do it then, instead of being number 1, 2, 3, and 4, we're gonna drop down lower, and look, I don't know that anybody just loves for new people to come into the community. We're just all kind of tight with who we are down there. But, when you're progressive and when you're successful, things have to change. Back in 1976, when this last issue was passed, they were having the same conversation. They had to be. There were people on fixed incomes. And think about where we would be today if that wasn't passed then. And this is like, but I do think that it's very important that this work gets put out about fixed incomes for senior citizens and home values. We do know, like I said, that's the bond will affect senior citizens, but as far as property values, that was a concern of mine. And I'm pushing forward.
So my taxes should not be.
Your assessed value went up. You're above 65, your exemption went up.
So my taxes won't go lower. That's what I mean.
I can't answer that. We know our percentage.
It's not a set.
It's not a set.
So how do you put
Every individual is, I mean, it's not a one size fits all. Everybody's, well, the assessed value went up around 20%.
So it's gonna be coming back already talked about.
Well, the assessed value went up around 20%. But then if the mill rate goes down, you won't see that whole 20%.
So there's not a.
There's a lot of ifs around
That's pretty much for sure. It's pretty much for sure. It's just.
The tax are not gonna be affected by the increase of the assessed value, but they will be affected by the increase on the bond. Well, that is the 12. If it's the 12.77, is that?
For the audit bills?
Right.
I get it, yes, yeah.
Well, that's right.
Your valuation times 30% tax assessment times .01227.
Right.
So very small.
I've got a question about, and I've had my hand raised, and I'm just gonna
I've been wanting to call you.
Good student.
It's the teacher in me, that's all you can.
you know, way back in the time, we got a casino in this place. Nobody wanted a casino. We all at this casino in here hoping that they would bring our school up and above. Have they? Are they still doing it or are they not? Is anybody holding them to the feet? Because I don't want to pay extra taxes if I can beat a casino up and get the money. Next thing was Toyota. Good for jobs. They promised us the world. Have we got it? We give them free taxes probably for 10 years. Is anybody beating them up? I don't know. And then the lottery. Where's all that money going? Nobody likes a lottery. It's gambling. We're Baptists. But are we getting our fair share out of it? I don't know. I hope we are.
I can tell you, we're not getting anything from the lottery or casino, Miss Kathy, I don't know if you.
So we need to change some people down in Jackson.
Amen.
Exactly.
The first $80 million off of gaming is supposed to go to infrastructure and roads, and then from there, they split it up amongst other things, and I have to pull the bills up to show you. But that's what goes to the infrastructure and the roads and bridges.
Yes, sir.
Been trying that question for a while. You don't want my address for those that don't know me or heard my name just last week. I'm Mike Walker. I'm not a butthole, and I'm more true profession, and I love kids. I got 6 daughters. They all go, granddaughters. They all go to one county school. And I push the county schools wherever I go. To my friends, I go to my work, I brag on their state championships. I push the county school. So I'm pro school. Get that point out there. And so when this going on, I heard about this a little over a week ago. And I had the, I was just like, I don't know what your name is, but I'm like, we've been promised all this for years and years and years. Vote on this, and we're going to school to be better and everything. So yeah, I'm skeptical. Why they want $20 million? Nearly 20 million, 18.5. And I just want to see the numbers. I still 115, so that, just doing quick math, that's 4 classrooms.
5, probably.
5?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you're showing 20, what's that, 21, 23? Let's go down. 21 new classrooms. So,
These were created because of 1 year. I mean, it's the cumulative growth that we're talking about.
okay, so the other question is, out of that 115 that you're showing come this year, which I pulled up the census and demographics, and it shows a decline. It don't show what we're showing. The new housing from 2020 have been on the decline since then. So where did they come from?
How many of those students out of district?
How many live outside of Union County this month?
Well, I can tell you, like, each union cannot accept any out of district right now.
I know some personally that go there.
they may have been grandfathered in, but like we told
I know
them, so,
some that started last year.
but we have seen, you know, apartments coming in, new houses being built. I mean, I don't know that.
There's not,
but we
you
have
divide that by two, there's not that many, you know, it don't, the math on that. My point is, I sell the schools, I sell the county, everywhere I go. You got low taxes, you got people that come in to Toyotas, promote that, take your banner right there, make up some flyers and promote that at these job fairs. Toyota has job fairs all the time, it's, suppliers has job fairs, go and promote that, hey, I wanna live in Union County. We got great schools, we got great teachers, hey, they even go to state and win tournaments every year. Promote that. Get them to come in, the more people you got coming in building new homes and paying taxes, the more revenue you got. Would that not help the school?
Yeah, but I don't think we have to do that. I think that's already happening. They're moving in.
May I say something? Didn't I read somewhere that my kids are not in East Union? But I read at East Union, the student, their population there, how many students they have has doubled since they've had new rooms built on there. I don't know how you can continue to, you know, I see how it's not, it has to be necessary. You can't have double the students with the same rooms and.
Mr. Walker, on one, and you brought up a good point, that, you know, it's 115, roughly five classrooms. That's this year. You know, we mentioned several schools already were at capacity and could use classrooms. In addition, schools are being asked to provide more services. I mentioned, a while ago, being used as a closet for certain services given. That takes space. We're required to give more services. So some of that is the services you have to give are taking up space that used to be just for a classroom. So that, I think you said it best, that just hasn't been just this year thing on the classroom. That's been building. If that answers some of your question on
What
that.
is the progressive growth over the past year, like say 5 years? 5 years ago, what was?
Since 1993, it's increased 700 students, all school.
Since 93?
1993, our.
That's a long time.
It's a long time.
But our schools were built in 62.
That's been on since 76.
And you take that 93.
They're really teaching, and we've got eight schools around here now, I'm telling you, without bond.
So is the bond 20 years?
Yes.
Okay.
20 years.
20 years, we got 20,000 parcels. Now, I know there's some huge houses, and I know there's some estate land, grandma, you got 100, 200 acres, an old shack on it that don't appraise that much for the house, but rent it, because it can't homestead. Let's go right $500, say 20,000 parcels, $100 a year for 20 years is $2,000 a parcel. Times 20,000 is $40 million. That's double.
That's not the way the math's done in the county administrative office. We don't get $40 million. That's not feasible. That's not a good example.
For 20 years.
Is there a total for 20 years? Y'all have a number? I mean, 18.5 is minimum what they said.
On 20,000 parcels?
I haven't calculated that.
I'd like to see that. Just Lisa, as far as the way the bond did, I mean, I think a lot of people are getting just tax money and how you have to go about setting up a bond. Again, you get bond attorneys involved, they have to size it, and you have to have a revenue stream. So 20 years, you're going to advertise this over 20 years. So there's a payment, $1.5 million to $2 million, I don't know how much a year it's got to be to pay it off. But for the bond attorney, before you can move forward, you have to have a revenue stream. You can't say, oh, we're going to get another 100 houses and they're going to be big, so we'll have that money. You can't do that to actually to borrow this money. You have to have a dedicated revenue stream to finance the bond. So that's why you have to have the extra millage on to support the bond. You can say, well, why don't you just save some money every year? Well, if you save $300,000 or $400,000 a year or $200,000, I mean, you got to sit here for 20 years before you get enough to do this project. This is the only, I mean, you talk about the casinos and the gambling and alcohol, that money all goes to the state, and the state allocates it across the state. They don't just come and give New Albany $18.5 million, although we love for them to, Ms. Kathy.
I would love for it.
But so, when you do this bond issue, you gotta have a dedicated stream of revenue, or nobody's gonna lend you the money. So that's why you have to set it up this way, and if all these other homes come in, and the tax base grows, I mean, that's gonna help for the future. But to get a project done, to get an amount of money, what is 5 million, 10 million, whatever, you've got to have a dedicated revenue stream, and it's a lot better to finance it over 20 years, it'd be better to finance it over 35. If you just finance it 10 years, tax, you got the millage rate's gonna be that much higher, it's like a house payment. So, I don't know if that helps for her, but Ms. Lisa, is that somewhat right?
It is. Yeah, that's like a law's written. And if more people come in and we have more property to collect taxes on, then that spreads the amount out across everybody, so the amount of taxes individuals will have will be less. So you want growth.
You've only got so much property, and won't be much property. There'll be houses, and no more property.
But that's
land.
taxable. The land is there,
It's there.
but when you add a house to it, the value shoots up
Well, that's
tremendously.
what you have to go back.
Right, but people are coming in building houses anyway. I mean,
Was any other
everywhere.
courses of action, identified? I mean, the bond issue, the first one, or other different things kind of looked at, like, grants or even, taxes, just our regular taxes we pay every day, it could be a drink or something that's shoulder in the county.
Well, I can speak on, when you talk about what other, Miss Wendy does our grants, we've gotten safety grants, we had our ESSER money come in. A lot of grants are tied to, and, I can't obviously speak for this year, but they're tied to specific purposes.
Sure,
You can't use it to build capital projects, so, I feel like we have looked for grants quite a bit, but there's just not a lot out there for the capital projects for building. And
I know
that's
the county's got, ARPA money. Was any designated towards the schools?
We call it ESSER, ESSER, we built a cafeteria at East Union. The first round of that, you pretty well, when I talk about it, had to be, we had to spend it on technology. There, and that's another thing, when you talk about budget and meeting your budget, that technology, we've got to keep that technology current in schools, and that's gonna be a bill that is not gonna be paid this time by the government, that we've got to expect, so we've got to budget into that. So that's a huge expense. So when you talk about budgeting figures, we've got to budget for that, because a lot of that technology is just gonna be outdated and have to do that. What was your last part of that question? I'm sorry.
That was about it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Just ARPA money and.
Yes.
I mean, how much was spent for the schools and how
The counties are currently, their line, it has to be used for county purposes. They can't pass it off to the school.
No, yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
And I even asked Lisa myself, when she and I were talking numbers, I said, okay, you've asked for so much money from the supervisors for your budget. Why can you not each year add a little something to that budget and cover some of this stuff? Like, I've seen Facebook, like everybody else has seen Facebook, the lights have been the problem. I said, why can't you just add that money to the budget and cover those lights? But they have certain things that their budget can cover, and they can't just give it to this. So this is the only way those things can get covered. And I had a kid at West Union, and I went to Myrtle, and my husband went to Elmore. And we all know that parents chip in everywhere they can. I did. My child played softball. If they needed something, we chip in. Parents are doing all they can do. But there comes a point when you've got to have some money for going around.
Well, you mentioned, and Miss Lisa, and I'm speaking, a little dated, but several months ago, talked about the 18.5. I think 32 years, Miss Lisa, the district spent $17.5 million on capital projects. So it took 32 years to spend the kind of injection that this would put into our schools. It took 32 years to do that. If we wait another 32 years, we would certainly be more outdated. So that was one of the reasons to do
And
that.
that
We
was
actually
not-
look back at what we had spent.
Yeah, and that's not with local tax dollars. That was with public school building fund that the state used to put money in each year. It was MAEP bonds that the state issued, and the district took on the debt and repaid them. We had QSCB Series 2009 bonds that we were able to do some buildings. The state did a QSCB 2012 bond issue that we were able to do some more renovations. And then recently we've had the ESSER funding that we've been able to do the cafeteria with. So over the course of the time, none of those funds come from local taxpayers. All of that, well, we use local taxpayers' dollars to pay the debt back, but the bonds were issued on behalf of the state, and then we repaid them to the state. So, and that was over the course of the last 32 years. Those are the funding sources for which we've used to do the improvements that we've done thus far.
And Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong, several of those funding sources that you just named off are no longer available. Am I correct?
No, they come and they go. It's a one-time thing.
Right.
You get the money, you have to make a decision how you're gonna spend it, and then it comes, it goes, so.
And for instance, I know one discussion we had, you talked about QSCB, you want to keep safety-wise a very up-to-date bus fleet. And that's something we've worked on, but that, that's something that you got to pay attention to when you talk about budgeting in the future. Yeah, I know the thought is, well, why don't they just take the money and spend on that? There are other big needs. When you talk about a bus is $100,000 for one bus. So there are some other things drawing at the purse.
Air conditioners on too.
Yes, sir.
Would a sales tax increase not be an option?
School districts don't get sales tax.
Yes, sir.
Were there any more bond options for like absolute necessities? I think you'd be more successful, in my opinion, if you had more than one option. And yeah, you're gonna grow, but say you had option one, we need some necessities, 5 classrooms, blah, blah, blah. A 5 or 10-year bond on that, and then look at it later on. We still got growth, move on.
That's not what's on the table right now. I think that is an idea that, could be, if it doesn't pass, that might be a.
Like, our kids come up and, wanted a BMW to drive to high school or something like that, that's where I look at this proposal.
Well, if I could say one thing on that now, I just want to repeat, is the 5 classrooms of this year, we were in need of classrooms before this year, certainly. And and one thing with a bond, this is a bond not for 2023 necessarily, but for 2043. When you talk about, we mentioned the growth that we would see, having those classrooms there for that growth, because you don't get an opportunity every day to do this. I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong. I'm just saying that was the reasoning behind it.
I still like to see all the kids live outside.
Can you kind of tell what the future will look like for the Union County schools if this doesn't pass?
If this doesn't happen, we'll just have to keep doing what we're doing. Probably gonna get more medical units in. That's really the only option. We use our district maintenance to pay payers. So we need to extend that.
Is there any way to cut school costs or spending to save some money?
There's a problem right now.
Okay. I know, I've been to every one of them county schools and the gyms, and, I've cut as much as electric costs now, I cut my hair on up. And I wore shorts to the ball game the other day in the gym, and I'm through with that. Now, that's our money. That's not ever who controlling the thermostat money. And, I work with a guard, and there's a lot of buildings you go in, you can lift it up and down all you want. It's set on a set temperature. It's like 74, 76, it's set there. It ain't gonna, you can flick it all you want, it ain't gonna move. So that will save a lot of money. I know we started schools the last week of August, and they start like the first week now, and those 3 weeks of August, and you save a lot of money right there on there.
To an extent though, if you turn the air up, I totally get where you're coming from, because my husband is a stickler for the air. But in this day and time, we also have parents that if little Susie sweats, then she's gonna try to sue the school district because it was so hot in that classroom.
But I come from a time when you didn't have air conditioning.
I totally get that, but that's all parents. Younger parents are a lot more too happy now. My mom raised me a different way, and parents raised a different way under me.
By accreditation standards, you know, you have to have an air conditioner now. And like when I went to school, we had plenty that did not, but you do have to have an air conditioner in Randall. Yes, ma'am.
I would like to take just a moment and explain how we receive our taxes each year and why we can't just ask for an unlimited amount of money. Each year, we're required to complete an ad valorem tax worksheet. And on that worksheet, there are several ways you can increase taxes. One would be a 7% tax increase with a referendum vote. One would be a 4% tax increase that the school board could approve. You get to put your new property on your ad valorem tax request worksheet. And then there's a line on there called new programs. And that is a number that the state gives us. And they calculate that in Jackson and send it to us to level out the 55 mil cap for school districts who are not there. So those are the reasons you can put on a request to increase taxes. The last 7 years, our school board has not increased taxes at all. So we've done new property that has come on the books. That the value of that runs around $65,000 a year is the new property calculation, is all we get from taxes. And the new programs this year was zero. It could be anywhere from 65 to 100,000. So the school district is not increasing local taxes that much each year because we can't. We're locked in by law and not allowed to do that. So then our school board approves that ad valorem tax request worksheet, and then we deliver that to the Board of Supervisors. Then it's their job to take what we requested. I think, if I understand it correctly, they take what we requested, less the homestead exemption, and you divide that by the total assessed value, and they come up with the millage rate that it will take for that much money to come in. And they always, for the last 10 years, they subtract $300,000 from our request for the Toyota payment from the pool lines. And so the money comes from, we get $300,000 less from our county government, and then we get a check from the pool alliance for the other $300,000. And those two together add up to our ad valorem tax request worksheet. So I just kind of want to give you an idea that we don't have the liberty to just decide how much we're going to increase the base by.